All right, so after we've gone through all of our steps, which includes the capture our data, scrubbing and cleansing our data, transforming our data, now we can go ahead and load it into our data warehouse, right? So how we load that data really depends on where we start from. So we can go from a refresh mode where we just rewrite all of the data that is in the data warehouse. Or we can update, which comes from the idea that, let's say the refresh might be from our static capture, and then the update might be for the interval, right, capture that we dealt with, where we're only looking at the changes that are made. So if we're dealing with just the changes, we only update changes in the data or in the source data, and then we change that in the data warehouse. So with the load portion of our ETL process, we go ahead and place the transform data into that data warehouse, and we can do that in either a refresh mode by doing a bulk rewrite of the target data, or an update, only changes are written into that data warehouse. So as part of SSIS 3060, you're going to be working with SQL Server integration services. Now, up until now, we've been dealing a lot with SQL Server Management Studio, specifically to create our dimensional models. And those dimensional models, those are our data warehouses, right? But also in SQL Server Management Studio, this is actually where we find out about our transactional data as well. Well, integration services is really the tool that we use for our ETL process. Later on down the line, we are going to use SQL Server analysis services that allows us to do online analytical processing and apply some data mining tools. Now, something that you should know about is that older versions of SQL Server tools may include reporting services, which allow reports or of documents to be built specific for decision makers to review. But also lately, with data visualization tools such as Tableau, we can now start to use Tableau, also Power BI, and other types of tools to replace reporting services. And for the purpose of our class, we're no longer going to use reporting tools, and we're going to be using Tableau or other tools for visualization. So let's kind of briefly go through the SQL Server Integration Services tool set. Most of this that you'll be able to see in the exercise walkthroughs, but let's kind of talk about them briefly. So first of all, you're going to know in SQL Server Integration Services, there's control flow tasks, and then there is data flow tasks, right? And control flow will basically allow us to execute SQL, execute our package, help prepare our data flow and our scripts. So here's an example here of our control flow. We might be loading a dimension table and then later load our fact table. And these are the tasks that we do in order. On the left-hand side of the screen, we'll see a toolbox full of tasks that we can do, and these are going to be specific to the control flow tasks. At the bottom, we'll be able to see our connections, and on the right-hand side over here, we will see our Project Explorer, and it will give us some information. So then the second area of our design surfaces is going to be a data flow, and this is where we look at our sources, our transformations, and our destinations. We would create a pipeline to do this, and here's one example. Here we can see that we might be using certain tools, data source tools such like an Excel source or an OLE database destination, right? And you can see this is an in these, you can see these are Excel examples. There is some data conversion going on, and these are modules that we will use from our data tools area. And we're going to go ahead and put these in specific tables in our destination. And this is all done in the data flow task. Right? A lot of this will make sense as you start to work in SSIS a little bit. This is just really intended to give us an idea about what we're looking for. So you'll also notice that right here there is, you can see it barely, it says load dim, and this little arrow here on the right, if you drop it down, will give us different types of data flow tasks. So, and those data flow tasks are what is in the control flow. So we'll work through each of those to be able to identify how to work with integration services, and our class exercise will assist us with a lot of these types of exercises. So you can go through this presentation and take a look at it just to kind of give you some familiarity with SQL Server integration services. But I would strongly encourage that you take a look at the walkthroughs for what's happening here to be able to get a better sense of the integration services package. So that includes our lectures on the ETL process. I'll see you guys in the classroom.